What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be doing the best case scenario for Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential election. The next video I'm going to be doing is the best case scenario for Joe Biden in the 2024 election. Um, After that, any recommendations for videos, please leave in the comments. I'm also planning on doing Senate election prediction coming up, possibly some governor predictions. And obviously, my main focus is the presidential election, but we will be focusing on all of the major things for this election. Anyway, with that being said, let's get into our safe Trump states, as this is a best case scenario prediction for Donald Trump. Just so you understand, the safe margins for Donald Trump are him winning by a margin of 10 points or larger. That would, in my mind, is considered a safe state, while likely states are considered anywhere from 5 to 10 points. Lean states are 1 to 5 points, and tilt in someone's category is anything less than a percent that you win the state by. So I'm just going to first of all outline the obvious safe states for this election in my mind that gets them up to 125 electoral votes. But if we're going to assume this is a best case scenario, meaning Donald Trump outperforms the polls, outperforms expectations, right now he's looking very, very solid across the country. He's, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of political pundits' minds, in a better position to win the presidency than in either of the two previous elections he's run in. Even with all of uh, the thing, all of I guess what you say was bad news that's going for him, all of the indictments, all of the accusations, it doesn't really seem to be affecting his poll numbers. With that being said, in a best case scenario, the first thing that he would win is Maine 2nd Congressional District by a safe margin. He's up 20 points in the most recent poll in Maine 2nd Congressional District. Keep in mind that that district was a toss up in 2016 and 2020, and Barack Obama won that district back in 2012 against Mitt Romney. In addition, the state of Ohio and the state of Iowa will go to Trump by safe margins. He won both of those states by about 8 to 9 points in 2020 and in 2016. Um, Both, if he does in fact have a best case scenario election, he would certainly win those states by more than 10 points, probably 15 points around. In addition, the state of Florida would go to Donald Trump by a safe margin. Florida has trended substantially to the Republican side. Ron DeSantis won the state of Florida by about 20 points back in 2022. Marco Rubio won the state by about 15 points. If this trend keeps up on the national scale, the state of Florida no longer would even be considered a toss up state. It's not being considered a toss-up state right now on the RCP map. It's being considered a lean Trump state. Previously, Florida, going back all the way, I don't even know how long, has been considered a toss-up state. We saw it basically being the state that decided the election in 2000. No longer toss-up. Florida, in this scenario, would be a safe Republican state, and the final safe Republican state is the state of Texas. Right now, Donald Trump leads in the polls by about 8 points, assuming he outperforms that and improves with Hispanics, and it does improve with minorities. He would end up winning the state of Texas by over 10 points, giving that state to him by a safe margin. Let's get into our safe Biden states. There's not going to be that many safe Biden states in a Trump best case scenario. The state of California would be a safe Biden state. Um, However, the states of Oregon and Washington won't. I think that actually the state of Oregon will be, because we have been seeing some polls out of the state of Oregon that show Biden leading by about 15 points. I think in the best case scenario for Trump, he would still win by over 10 points. But we saw a poll from the state of Washington. Now, I'm not really sure how much I actually um, take that credibly, but it actually had Trump leading in Washington. I don't think that's going to happen, but it doesn't mean that Washington will be under 10 points, a little bit more competitive this election. Also, the state of Hawaii. A lot of people, a lot of Hawaiian Democrats are upset at Joe Biden for not taking the hurricane seriously, not providing them relief. You could see that possibly go into a likely category, as well as the state of Illinois that had Joe Biden only leading in the state of Illinois by about 9 to 10 points in recent polling. If Donald Trump does in fact have a best case scenario, does in fact run the table, and people don't turn out for Biden in the same margins that they did in 2020, which is what I believe will happen. I don't think that they're going to turn out in those margins. Illinois as well won't be a safe Biden state. However, some of these northeastern states will remain safe Biden, state of Delaware, state of Maryland, state of DC. But states like Connecticut and New Jersey will fall into that likely category. It's not like I'm the states that are right now not being characterized as safe. It's not as if Trump is going to win these states in a best case scenario. Just won't Biden just won't win those states by the margins that he would in a normal election. Maine's first congressional district also would be a safe Biden state. Heading into our likely Trump states, the state of North Carolina would be a likely Trump state. We're seeing polls out of North Carolina where Trump leads by 8 points in a recent Bloomberg poll. Donald Trump typically does in fact fall within the margin of error in polling in North Carolina. He did in 2020 and in 2016. If these polls are even somewhat accurate, and if Donald Trump continues to do well across the country and support, he'll win North Carolina. North Carolina historically has been more of a Republican state, even in 2012, when Barack Obama basically retained all of the states that he won from 2008, beside, I guess you could say, Indiana and some other ones. Um, North Carolina actually went in favor of Mitt Romney, although Mitt Romney, that was the only real toss-up state that he won. North Carolina went in favor of him. So it does have a Republican tendency, especially on a national level. In this scenario, Donald Trump, given the polling data and given the historical trends in North Carolina, would win North Carolina by a likely margin. In addition, one more likely state for Donald Trump would be the state of Georgia. He's up in the polls by Georgia by relatively anywhere from 4 to 5 to 6 points. In a best case scenario, he certainly would win by over 5 points. Heading into our likely Biden states now, we're going to be characterizing states like Washington, states like Hawaii, states like Illinois, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, all as likely for Joe Biden. So that immediately boosts it up to 181. You're not going to be seeing any form of electoral blowout in the near future in this country, even if Donald Trump has a best case scenario and Joe Biden has a best case scenario. You're just not going to be seeing that happen. So that gets Joe Biden up to 181 electoral votes. I'm not going to be making any more state characterizations in that matter. And now we're going to head into our lean Trump states. Lean Trump states. He's going to win North Carolina and Arizona by lean margins, as well as the three main states in the Rust Belt. So, of course, he does win the presidency at this point in time. 312 electoral votes for Donald Trump. The Rust Belt has been showing very strong signs for Donald Trump's support. Obviously, one Quinnipiac poll out of Wisconsin showing Biden up 6 points. We have to take that as an outlier. I mean, the state of Wisconsin is the most conservative out of those three main Rust Belt states, and Donald Trump, in the overall aggregate and polling data, has been performing much better than what that Quinnipiac poll showed. Also, Quinnipiac polls historically, or not historically, but this election cycle, have deviated from what the average, what the mean would be from a lot of the other trusted, good pollsters. Now, maybe Quinnipiac is right, but I'm going to be taking that poll, as I take at this point many Quinnipiac polls, with relatively a grain of salt. Nebraska second will go to Trump by a lean margin. We saw a poll out of Nebraska second that has Trump winning Nebraska second congressional district by 3 points. He did win in 2016, however, he lost it in 2020. In this scenario, of course, he would very likely be winning that back, as well as Maine's at-large district. There was a recent poll, Pan Atlantic, not recent, I mean, a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, has Trump leading by 6 points. Pan Atlantic actually overestimated Biden's chances back in 2020. In a best case scenario, I hate to keep reiterating that it is a best case scenario, but a lot of people would be like, obviously, this is not going to happen. This is a best case scenario election prediction. Trump would win Maine's at-large district by a lean margin. Now we head into our lean Biden states. Colorado is a lean Biden state, as well as the state of New Mexico. Those are going to be the only lean Joe Biden states, I still think. While they previously were toss-ups maybe 15, 20 years ago, no longer. Last time they went Republican was George Bush in 2004, and they really haven't been that close since then. Heading into our lean Donald Trump, actually, my apologies, I already did that. Heading into our tilt Donald Trump states, this would be the state of Minnesota. You're seeing a lot of unpopularity, especially among the Muslim community in Minnesota, with Joe Biden in the primaries, where Joe Biden practically ran unopposed. A significant minority of Democrats came out and voted in the primary and said uncommitted. If only a fraction of those people decide not to turn out in 2024, Minnesota very likely could tilt in favor of Donald Trump. Now, in a best case scenario, that in fact would happen, and Joe Biden would not get that Muslim support that he so desperately needs in states like Minnesota and Michigan, and Trump would end up actually picking that state off. Switching over to a tilt Biden state, I still believe at this point in time the state of New Hampshire would tilt in favor of Joe Biden. Donald Trump has proven that he is pretty unpopular in the state of New Hampshire. Even though he has Chris Sununu's endorsement, looking back at the Republican primary in Pennsylvania and the sheer amount of support that Nikki Haley got from Republican voters in the state, it's very likely that even in a best case scenario for Trump, he wouldn't get all of those people to turn out for him, and Biden would be able to cling on to New Hampshire. Biden is pretty popular in the Northeast, especially in a state like New Hampshire, where you have a bunch of, I guess you could say, like left-leaning Republicans that aren't so inclined to vote for Donald Trump. Actually very different from New York, although New York is just more heavily Democratic. But New Hampshire would, in my mind, still tilt in favor of Joe Biden. The final state, the state of Virginia. This is a best case scenario. I'm giving Donald Trump the state of Virginia. He has announced that he will be actually campaigning a little bit in Virginia. Now, who the hell knows how much he will be campaigning in Virginia, because very likely he's going to be focusing on simply winning the election, which means he has to probably be campaigning in Georgia, a little bit of Arizona, and then the Rust Belt. But in a best case scenario, Donald Trump will receive 338 electoral votes from the Electoral College. This would be like a modern day I guess, landslide election victory. It's the biggest election victory since Barack Obama's modern landslide in 2008. Donald Trump receives 32 more electoral votes than he had back in um, 2016. Donald Trump, in this scenario, of course, wins the presidency again, goes on to become the 47th president of the United States. The only real toss-up state that Biden manages to cling on to is the state of New Hampshire. I don't even include states like Colorado and New Mexico as toss-ups anymore. They're just solid Biden states, but in a best case scenario for Trump, they would narrow into that lean category. I just don't see them going in favor of Trump at this time. Donald Trump, 338 electoral votes. The next video I make will be a best case scenario for Joe Biden. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe and comment below your suggestions. Have a good day.